Have you ever stared at your calendar and thought, when did this become my life? If so, this episode is for you. Today, we are borrowing a phrase from sports, love of the game, and we're going to bring it into career and leadership. We will talk about why your drive always follows your why, how to know if you're in the right game, and what to do if you're not. Welcome to the Lead with Spark podcast, the show where real women lead with authenticity, show up with presence, and live out their purpose. I'm Lynsey Mulder, speaker, C-suite executive, family gal, travel junkie, and a firm believer that your leadership starts from within. Around here, we go beyond the fluff. We talk about the real stuff no one teaches you in leadership training. Your values, your superpower strengths, boundaries to stop burnout, and how to quit being the chaos coordinator of your own life. Whether you're building a business, leading a team, or just trying to stop feeling stuck in the daily grind, this is your space to get clear, get aligned, and finally lead with confidence. So let's cut the noise and reconnect with the spark that makes you, you. Let's go get our spark on. I remembered the day that I looked at my calendar and thought, wait a minute, when on earth did this become my life? 30 meetings in a day stacked on top of each other. Busy, 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 never any time to think or pause. Craziness and chaos. If you're like me, you're getting the job done. You're showing up for the team. From the outside, it might even look successful. But inside, you're wondering, why does this feel so heavy? And why is my motivation hiding under a blanket somewhere? Today, I want to borrow a phrase from the world of sports and bring it straight into your leadership, your career, and your life. It's called love of the game. You hear it used to describe athletes who will put it all on the line. They're the ones in the gym early and staying late. They're the first to practice and the last to leave. We look at them and think, wow, they just have insane drive. But here's the truth underneath that. Their drive follows their why. Today, we're talking about why you are playing, not just how hard you're playing. Because if you feel like you have a motivation problem, there's a good chance that you actually have a love of the game problem. Let's start with the sports version. Think about names like Ronaldo or Kobe or Michael Jordan or Caitlin Clark. They're known for being some of the hardest working players in the world. The story we often tell is, look at their hustle, look at their discipline. And yes, the work ethic is incredible. But take away their love for the game of soccer or basketball, and that insane drive does not exist. If they didn't love the game, they would not be the first ones in the gym. They would not be obsessing over extra reps, the extra drills, the extra film study that nobody else sees. Their work ethic did not create their why. Quite the opposite. Their why created their work ethic. Now let's shift out of the arena and into your office, your business, and your everyday life. In the corporate world or as an entrepreneur, we often flip that around. We tell ourselves, if I could be more disciplined, more organized, more focused, then I would finally feel motivated, fulfilled, and successful. We beat ourselves up for not having enough drive when the real question that we need to ask is, do I still love the game that I'm playing? And if I do, am I in the right position on the right team? That is where love of the game becomes a powerful lens. To succeed in the corporate world or in your business, you absolutely need two things: an unyielding drive and a fantastic why. What we forget is that drive follows why. If you are in a season where your motivation feels low, it is easy to diagnose yourself as lazy or unfocused. But what if your system is actually working perfectly? What if your lack of drive is a signal that something in your why is off? Maybe you used to love the game that you're in and something shifted. Maybe you love the field, but you're in the wrong position. Maybe you love the work, but the team or the environment is draining you. Or maybe you're playing an entirely different game than the one that you are actually made for. So I want to walk through a few questions with you today. You can listen first, and then you can come back with a journal later. Let this be a little locker room chat moment where you pull back from the noise and ask, why am I playing this game? Let's define what I mean by game. Your game might be your industry. It might be your role. It might be the company that you're in or that you own. It might be the season of life that you're designing. Your game is the arena where you're currently pouring your time, energy, and talent. So here's the first question. Just think about this. Do I love the game I'm in, or have I just gotten really good at surviving it? That one question might sting a little. I know, because I've asked it of myself. There are times in my own corporate journey when I was still performing at a really high level, the results were there, and from the outside, it looked exactly like success is supposed to look. But inside, my love of the game was quietly fading. If you've ever sat in a meeting and thought, I'm really good at this, but I don't know if I want this anymore, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I want to break this down into 4 possibilities. As you listen, see which one feels most like you. First, right game, wrong position. Second, right game, wrong team. Third, right game, right team, but you've forgotten your why. And the fourth, wrong game altogether. Let's start with the first one. Right game, wrong position. Maybe you're in the right field and you love your industry. You care about the mission, you like the kind of work that you do in theory, but the way that you're spending your days does not line up with your strengths or your superpowers. You're a big picture thinker stuck in spreadsheets all day. Or you're a relationship builder buried in solo work with no human interaction at all. Or you are a creative problem solver living in a world of copy and paste routines. In SparkLife language, this is where your superpowers and your seat do not match. When that happens, your love of the game starts to fade. Not because the game is wrong, but because you're playing out of position. The second option is right game, wrong team. You might be doing work that you love, but you're in an environment that constantly drains you. Think about a team that plays a beautiful style of soccer, but the locker room is toxic. The coach does not communicate, the culture is fear-based, not growth-based. No matter how much you love the sport, staying with that team wears you down. In your world, it might look like a leader who does not align with your values, an organization that says it wants innovation but punishes risk, a culture that rewards overwork and burns out people who care the very most. The love of the game can only carry you so far, especially if the environment around you is misaligned with your values and your non-negotiables. The third option, right game and the right team, but you forgot your why. This one sneaks up on people who have been in their role for a while. You started with a clear sense of purpose. You knew exactly what you were doing and where you were going. You loved the mission. You loved the people. You loved the challenge. But over time, the emails multiplied, the meetings stacked up, the fire drills increased, and your calendar filled with things that were urgent but not always meaningful. Your love of the game did not disappear. It just got buried under all that noise. If this is you, you might catch glimpses of your why in certain conversations or projects, but it's not front and center. It's kind of like playing a song quietly in the background instead of the soundtrack you're living by. And then there's the fourth possibility. Wrong game completely. This is when you realize, sometimes slowly and sometimes all at once, that the game you're playing is not actually the one that you were designed for. Maybe you chose it for security, or maybe you chose it because you thought you should, or somebody else chose it for you. Maybe it worked for a season, but your life values or priorities have changed. This is the moment when you ask, if I were not already here, would I choose this again? Now, I know that's a hard question. It can also be a very liberating one. So how do you figure out where you are? This is where I like to bring the SparkLife lens, your values, your superpowers, and your non-negotiables. Your values answer the question, what matters most to me in this season of my life? Your superpowers answer, what gives me energy because it taps into my natural strengths? Your non-negotiables answer, what boundaries do I need in order to protect my health, my relationships, and my integrity? When your game is aligned with your values, your drive feels natural. When your role uses your superpowers, motivations start to flow again. When your non-negotiables are respected, you can give your best without losing yourself. When those are out of alignment, your drive will start to fade no matter how much you push yourself. So instead of asking, why am I not more motivated? Try asking, where is my game out of alignment with my values? Where am I playing out of position instead of in my strengths? Where have I allowed my non-negotiables to be ignored or violated? Your answers to those questions will tell you a lot more about your drive than any productivity hack. Let's go back to the listener who sparked this episode and the question that they raised. They asked things like, are you someone who struggles to find motivation at work? Do new tasks at your job bother you more than they should? Are you willing to lay it all out with your team? If not, maybe it's time to ask, why am I playing this game? Do I love what I do? Does it give me energy? Does it spark my life? I love those questions. So let me give you just a few more that you can write down, or you can pause, reflect on it, start it up again, listen to the next one, and keep going. Here are some of the locker room questions for your career and your leadership. If my paycheck disappeared tomorrow, would I still want to contribute in this space in some way? Where in my work do I feel most alive, most like myself, most in my zone? Where in my work do I feel most drained, resentful, or disconnected? Do I love the game but need a different position on the field? Do I love the game but need a different team or a different coach? Or do I feel deep down that I'm playing someone else's game entirely? There are no right or wrong answers. There are only honest answers, and honest answers are what gives you the power to change something. I also want to acknowledge something important. You may not be able to change your game overnight. You may have financial responsibilities, a family depending on you, or commitments that you want to honor, but that does not mean that you're stuck. Sometimes the first step is not quitting anything. It's simply recap exactly where you are. Go back to the beginning and ask yourself, why did I start this job? What did I hope it would make possible for me and others? Who am I able to serve because I'm here? If there's still a spark there, then fan it. Create a fire. Look for small ways to realign your daily work with parts of the game that you do love. Raise your hand for projects that use your strengths. Delegate or negotiate where you can. Set one new non-negotiable to protect your energy. And if you realize that you're in the wrong game, give yourself permission to simply begin exploring what the right game might be. Without shaming yourself for how long you've been in this role, just get started. You're not behind. You're becoming more honest. You're ready for the next season, and that is growth. I want to talk just for a minute to those of you who are leaders, because love of the game is actually contagious. Think back to a time when you worked for someone who clearly loved what they did. Their energy was different. Their expectations were clear. Their belief in the work actually made you want to show up harder for it. And on the flip side, you've probably worked for someone who was clearly done, checked out. They were phoning it in. They were bitter, burnt out, whatever it might be. You know who they are. It could have been the same company, the same logo, the same mission statement on the wall, but completely different experiences for the team. When you're leading others, your love of the game matters. You do not have to be happy every second, and you don't have to fake enthusiasm. That's not what I'm saying. Your people do not need a cheerleader. They need someone who's grounded in a real why. So as a leader, ask yourself, have I shared my why with my team, or do they only see my workload? Have I made space for them to share why they're playing this game? Do I regularly connect our goals and projects to something meaningful, or do we only talk tasks and numbers? This is where culture starts, not in a handbook, but in the hearts of people who are playing the game together. Let me pull this together with a simple visual. Imagine your career as a scoreboard. We're used to tracking the usual stats: title, salary, promotions, revenue, awards. Those metrics do matter, but they're not the whole story. On a different part of the scoreboard, I want you to imagine 3 numbers: love of the game, alignment with your values, and use of your superpowers. If those 3 numbers are low, it will not matter how impressive the traditional stats look. At some point, your drive will follow your why right out the door. If those 3 numbers are high, your external results may still ebb and flow, but you will have the fuel that you need to keep going, to reinvent what you need, and to lead with authenticity. As we wrap up, here's your next step. Sometime in this week, I want you to give yourself 10 minutes to ask and answer this one question. Am I playing the right game, in the right position, on the right team for this season of my life? Write whatever comes up for you. No editing, no judging, just complete honesty with yourself. If your answer is yes, then ask, how can I show up with even more love of the game? What is one way I can reconnect to my why and lead from that place? If your answer is no, or I'm not sure, then ask, what is one small experiment that I can run to explore a better fit? That might be a conversation, a class, a side project, or a boundary. You do not have to have the entire plan. You just need the courage to take the next step. You're not meant to drag yourself through a life that looks good on paper but deadens your spirit. You are allowed to want work that challenges you, stretches you, and still sparks life in you. Love of the game is not reserved for pro athletes on a court or a field. It's for you, in your office, in your business, in your living room, designing a life that fits who you are becoming. If this episode stirred something in you, I would love to hear about it. Tell me what game you're playing right now and what you're noticing about your why. Put it in the comments. Shoot me a DM. Thank you for listening and doing the inner work that so few people are willing to do, and for choosing to lead with Spark. Until next time, keep asking better questions, keep aligning with what matters, and keep loving the game that you were meant to play. Keep leading with Spark. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for being here and for doing the work to lead yourself first. If this episode sparked something for you, take a second to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with another woman who's ready to own her leadership. And remember, the way you lead your life is the way you lead everything else. If you or your organization are looking for a speaker, an impactful workshop, or an executive coach, head over to lynseymolder.com and let's connect. Keep showing up. Keep leading with Spark. You got this. I'll see you next time.